Welcome to Hammerhead Hobbies. In this episode, I'll be testing sprue cutters. Alright, welcome back. What I have here is a variety of sprue cutters of different types and prices. Now I'll be testing these to find out which one I believe is the best. And you can make an informed decision on which one is best for you. Starting off with the cheapest one, I have the Plato Model 170. Now this is an imitation Plato. I think the real ones are made in the United States. I bought this one off of Temu for about $3.63 Canadian plus tax. Next I have the RUI Tool Model 0.5. I bought this one off of Temu for about $11.62. This is the Micromark model number 88288, and I bought this one off of Amazon for about $31 plus tax Canadian. This is the RUI Tool or RUI Tool. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. This is model 1.0, and I bought this one off of Temu for about $21 Canadian plus tax. This is the Tamiya number 123 sprue cutter, and I bought this one off of Amazon for about $47 Canadian plus tax. And lastly, I have the GodHand Ultimate Nipper. This is model number is SPN 120, and I bought this one off of Amazon for around $77 Canadian. Okay, let's begin with the Plato Model 170, or imitation of. Okay, this is a blade to blade style. It means two sharp blades here meet in the middle, and it is a flush cut. We'll just be cutting plastic sprue, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, kind of snapped it off, didn't really cut it. Okay, and I'll show you what the cut looks like. It's not very pretty at all. Like again, it almost seems like it snapped it off rather than cut it. Now this is the flush end here, and this is the cut end, so you can see how it beveled it. Okay, not a very clean cut at all. Now I'll cut a piece off of a sprue and see how flush it does get onto the sprue. So just cut it there. I'll turn it around and I will cut the other end. Okay, so you see a little bit of a burr there. I think I can remove that. Okay, that is about as flush as it gets there. And I'll show you the top piece. So it did cut pretty flush, but it was a tough cut and it took a lot of energy to cut it and then try to maneuver it in tight spots. Okay, we're going to go with the RUI Tool or RUI Tool or RUI Tool. Again, not familiar on the pronunciation of that. It is the model 0.5. And I'll cut a sprue piece here and show you what that looks like. Again, quite a bit of effort, not as much as the Plato one. I'll show you what this looks like. A bit of a cleaner cut. I did compress it a little bit. Let's try and cut a sprue piece here again. So I can get in a little tighter with this one. I'll cut that piece, turn around and cut that. That felt a lot easier to cut. Now let's take a look at the actual cut itself. Okay, there's a little bit of a raised portion. Well, it's not getting any closer than that, but all in all, not too bad. Moving on to the Micromark. This is a blade to anvil style also, but it is a lot thinner than the previous two. Now let's cut a sprue piece here. Oh wow, that was pretty effortless. Did a very nice, smooth, and clean cut. I cut at a bit of an angle. You can see how nice and clean that is. If I twist that around, okay, I can probably put these two pieces together. You would have a hard time finding the seam. Okay, let's move over to cutting a sprue piece off. Again, effortless cutting. Did a great job on the cutting on that piece there. There is a little raised portion. Okay, very nice cut on the micro mark. Let's get over to the RUI tool or RUI tool or RUI tool. This is the model 1.0. This is a blade to anvil style again. Very similar to the micro mark in design. If you look at both of them, they're almost exactly the same. They have the open stop, they have the closed stop, they have the spring in the middle. It looks very similar in design. They're almost the same thickness. Everything looks similar in these. And we'll start off with the sprue. Again, very effortless, very similar to the micro mark. And if I can show you the cut here, impeccable cut, like very clean. And if I was to put these two pieces together, you'd almost have a hard time finding out where the cut was. We'll cut another piece off the sprue and turn this around. Okay, beautiful cut again. There is a tiny bit of a raised portion. This one here, I didn't get right in to cut it cleanly. It does leave a little bit of a raised portion there, so it can't get in as tight as I'd like it to get in. All right, moving on to the Tamiya. This is a blade to blade style cutter. So the two sharp blades meet in the middle for a flush cut. It's a very basic tool, a little pricey. It is robust though. This is the thickest metal there is. I think it's the second heaviest compared to the Plato. Might be even a little bit heavier. Let's start off with a sprue cut. Okay, it's kind of snapped it off. It wasn't very smooth like the micro mark and the RUI 1.0. Okay, it did a fairly clean cut. Okay, I'm not truly impressed. It was a little more effort than I wanted to cut, especially on a blade to blade design. All right, let's see how it performs cutting a sprue piece off. Pretty good actually. The jaws are very thin and it does get into very nice tight spots. And it did a great job on cutting it flush. A little bit of raised portion there. If you can see that piece there, a little bit of a raised portion, but it did a great job. They're all pretty similar, but this one, not totally impressed considering it's the second most expensive. All right, lastly, we're going to try out the GodHand. This is a blade to anvil style also, flush cutter. And we'll try on this sprue. Now this sprue is pretty thick, so it does give a great indication on how well it cuts, how smoothly it cuts. All right, it cut very smoothly, very little effort. It did kind of twist it and cut it a bit of an angle, which that's kind of weird. I'll give this another go. It did cut it on a bit of an angle, even though I was straight onto it. And it did the exact same thing. So as I cut it, I don't know if the nipper twisted or the piece twisted. I'm not sure what happened there. It is a clean cut, but for some reason it's on an angle. Now let's test this on a sprue piece here. These are the thinnest jaws of the bunch. Okay, beautiful cutting. Okay, I'm gonna hold it up there. Again, I could feel a very tiny edge of what I cut. Okay, and on the back side, again, same thing. I can kind of feel a tiny edge there. So good sprue cutters. I don't know why it did a little bit of a twist at the end. Stick around. I'm gonna give the pros and cons and a rating on which one I think is the best and worst. All right, coming in sixth is the Plato Model 170s, imitation Chinese knockoffs. These were the hardest to cut. They're the thickest jaw, so it can't get into tight spots, and it did the worst cut on the sprues. However, they are the cheapest. Coming in fifth is the Tamiya Model 123. This took a little bit of effort to cut, even though they're similar style to the RUI Tool 0.5s. These don't open as wide, they're heavier, and they're the second most expensive of the bunch. Coming in fourth, I have the RUI Tool 0.5. These took a little bit of effort to cut. The spring is a lot tighter, so it takes more effort, and it didn't do such a good job on cutting. Third place is the GodHand SPN 120s. Even though they have the thinnest jaws of the bunch, this is the most expensive. It cuts flush, but for some reason it cut the sprue on an angle. For first is going to be a tie. It's going to be the RUI Tool 1.0 and the Micromark 88288. I mean, the RUI Tool is a little bit cheaper by $10 than the Micromark. I have used the Micromark. This is my sprue cutter that I use. This is a brand new one, but I used a similar one and I've had it for a few years and it hasn't gotten dull. Nothing's happened to it. It's a great little tool. But these are both similar builds and are the smoothest in cutting. Well, I hope you enjoyed the review and I hope you enjoy your builds.